So let's talk about, we have the unique opportunity today to talk about the creative process from so many different angles. Where does it start from writers and composers and choreographers and set designers? Where does it begin for you? Let's start with Dennis.
Well, it's it's kind of case by case, depending on whether I'm working on a new production of a musical that's already has had a life, and or if it's a brand new musical. Certainly with a brand new musical, the work that I do hopefully always is in service of telling the story, and kind of enhancing the experience of the audience. The first step is to understand it as a play, not even just as a musical. Just really sort of understand the story before I start to think about how dance can help to, tell the story better. I mean, you can say a lot with movement, but I try not to impose movement upon something just to be entertaining or something. I hope that it is always there to just kind of make the story a little clearer.
And I do like that within this. I mean, I'm looking at 4 people who are all, at the end of the day, storytellers. We're storytellers in any facet that we approach this. Where do you guys start your process, Irene and Dave?
Walking and talking,
Walking and talking.
Yeah. When we start, it's probably about 80% talking and 20% actually putting something on the page.
Yeah.
And before that, even a ton of research and diving in. I mean, we've done 2 shows, and they've both been about true stories. So there's been a lot of interviews.
Which we do need to talk about the first show that we're referencing here.
Our first musical is My Mother's Lesbian Jewish Wiccan Wedding, which is a true story about my mom. So we interviewed my mom, and then we started walking and talking and tried to find our way into it and figure out what we were doing before a single word gets down on the page. It takes a long time. Yeah. And with Come From Away, we obviously we went out to Newfoundland and interviewed 1 million people and came back with hundreds of stories, and then also collected every letter that had been sent back to Newfoundland, every documentary, every book, every piece of paper that we could possibly find, and we just spread them all out and tried to find what the story is. It's the same, it's storytelling. We tried to find, whose story we're telling, and how does it change from the beginning to the end, and then what other stories we can combine along the way.
Yeah, and stay out of the story's way. Like, try to not put our own agenda into it or any type of messages. Like, we try to, as much as possible,
this is what it is.
Happened. Yeah.
Beowulf, where do you start?
The same thing. It's the story. I mean, for all of us, it is. It for how I tackle it visually, a lot of it is figuring out, like, how little can I do to make it mean something. I think some of that comes from starting out doing a lot of poor theater where there just was no money, so you had enough money to do one thing. And you have to make that one choice really good and really meaningful.
3 chairs.
Kind of. But what it does, and this I really do feel strongly about, because even in Act 1 is physically the biggest set I did. It was a 60-foot diameter turntable, and it was 3 stories tall. But each of the locations within it were, in fact, kind of as simple as I could make them. It was, what do I need to be a kitchen in a tenement? What do I need to be a producer's office? And the truth of it is, and this is what the magic of theater is, I think, and the power of it is, if I can put just enough on stage to trigger the audience to imagine the rest of it, then it's going to be so much better than anything I can put on stage. If I'm trying to do Daddy Warbucks' mansion, and I can put 2 things there that imply this incredible mansion and let you imagine the rest of it, then you're going to imagine a better mansion than I can do.